Well, hello and welcome to day 7 of Churches Together in Cornwall's reflection for this week, A Prayer for Christian Unity. We've been following the story that Jesus told, known as the Good Samaritan. And today we come to the climax. You might remember that there's a lawyer who tries to trick Jesus. But at this point, Jesus turns the table on that lawyer. Jesus has a question in return. After he's telling the story, he asked the lawyer, who was neighbour to the man who was robbed? Who was neighbour to the man who was robbed? Of course, the obvious answer is the Samaritan. But the lawyer would not want to have said the word Samaritan because there was a lot of hatred at that time between Jews and Samaritans. The lawyer would not have found it easy to admit that a Samaritan could have been good. And so, being a lawyer, clever with words, he managed to find a way around that. He didn't actually put the word Samaritan on his lips. He said instead, the one who was kind to him, the one who was kind to him. It's a reminder to us, I think, that our neighbours are very often most unexpected people. I wonder if you can find a time when the person who turned out to be your neighbour was someone from a very different group, a different community. Yes, Jesus challenges us, particularly in this world of polarized politics, that our calling is to transcend those borders of prejudice, those borders of separation. Go and do likewise. Go and do the same, is what Jesus then says to the man. And those words come across the centuries to us. We are to go and do likewise. We, as followers of Jesus, are to go and be kind to our neighbours. So what does that mean in our day? Well, I'm sure that you, following this, will be one of those people who, as part of your Christian vocation, show lots of kindness, lots of love through your practical caring. You may be someone who volunteers at a food bank, or you may be a street pastor. You may be someone involved in helping to run one of those warm spaces that have made such a difference. You may be someone who gives money to charities to support such work. You may be some part of a community group that is serving practically. And that, of course, is a key part of our Christian calling, to demonstrate that kindness, that love. But I think there's another level as well. Biblical archaeologists a few years ago found there was another part 2 to this story of the Good Samaritan. And in part 2, we hear that the innkeeper decided he needed to form a kind of community neighbourhood watch for those travelling on that road. And so he set up a rota for people who would make sure that no one travelled alone. If you were going on that road, there would be someone to accompany you so that you would arrive safely at your destination. And the innkeeper and the Samaritan, what he did was to take some of his money and use that to set up a new charity in that area, a charity for young teenagers, because they were the ones that were causing the trouble on the road. And this charity, this new group, was to divert those people away from crime and to find something constructive, a way of living their lives. Jesus told that second part of his story to tell us that as well as the emergency first aid that we as Christians do, we also have to look at seeing how society, how structures can be changed. You probably all know about the story of the village where people were being fished out of the water day after day. And then someone said, well, no, what we have to do is to go back and we have to find out why so many people are falling in. So what might that look like in Cornwall? Cornwall Poverty Forum this year is revisiting its community manifesto for Cornwall. It'll be a manifesto that we will give to those who are elected as our MPs. We're looking for people to make proposals on how Cornwall can be a fairer and more just place to live. And maybe you've got some ideas of how society in this place can change, things that can be made different so that people don't end up needing the service, the first aid that we and other groups are offering. If so, Please look on the Poverty Forum website and send in your proposals to include. That too is just as much as being kind, doing likewise as Jesus commanded us. We have a reflection and then a prayer for this day. Our reflection. Them. Those people. People like that, you know. But you don't know. That's the point. Because you don't want to know. They're not important as long as they know their place. So thanks be to you, dear God, that your interfering mercy has put us in our place for those others. And our prayer for today. Holy God, your Son, Jesus Christ, came among us to show us the way of compassion. Help us by your Spirit to follow his example, to serve the needs of all your children, and so witness together as Christians to your ways of love and mercy. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.